Welcome, and my name is Patricia, and I'm on week 8 with the theme of processing form data. So we have many elements, and we're gonna talk about many of them, not every single element and attribute from a form, just the base of the basic form data elements. Okay. So we have this form begins with a form tag and it ends with a form tag. That's basic. So this simple form that we have here, it includes labels and radio buttons and push buttons, and it looks easy and short. And the first thing we want to create on a form is the name of that form. So when we create a JavaScript document just for that form, we can have a name just for that. So um, the name defines the names form, defines and names the form. I know it sounds redundant, but we have to make it clear. So with that name, elsewhere in the JavaScript, you can reference this form by that name. In this example, I have my form, but it doesn't matter the name. The name you give your form is up to you. We just have to follow some rules from JavaScript. We already learned about it, but no spaces, no weird characters, and uh, the rules for the letters and numbers. That's it. Another attribute we give to the form is the action. The action attribute, it defines how you want the browser to handle the form when it is submitted to the server. Like do this, do that. When it's submitted, you do this form. That's it. If it's a mathematic action, then you create a mathematic JavaScript and you add it in the action. That's it. So we have the method attribute, and this one helps us define the method we want the information to be submitted. So if we want the information to create a new page and add all the search in the browser, it will help us with the get or post. The method attribute specifies the HTTP method to be used when submitted the form data. So we have this post, and in a post request resulting for an HTML form, the content type of the request is specified in the end-type attribute. So we add this end-type attribute when we use post. Not all the time, but most of the time we need to add this end-type so it will work in the right way. When do we use get or post? There's a big difference, huge. So when we use get, uh, we get the page address and it adds all the information we write inside a form, and we can see it in the page address. Like if we search in Google and we want to look cats and food for cats, and we click on the search button, it would immediately change the name of the page you're visiting. It's not just google.com or an empty tag. It shows the browser name and the search you just type. That's what get helps us with. And for that, these are some notes for using the get. Um, I already said the name goes in there. So the length of the URL is limited, about 3,000 characters. That's it. And you can never use get for personal data because it will be showed in the URL, as I was talking before. So if you use the get and you need to input I don't know, a personal card or a bank account, that wouldn't be good. That will destroy all security of that information. That's personal information. It would show it up in the URL, and we don't need that. So when we use the get, it will help the user to save that page in a bookmark and go and look for it again in another day, another time, and it will pop up again with the get option, with the get attribute. Okay, and that's it basically. This is an example. So if we write about these method attribute and we write on the method attribute get, the form with when you press the submit button, it will create a slash and all the action of the form, and it would show up in the URL. That's what we don't want. We don't want that to happen. So we have the post, and it is useful too. And we always use post if the form data contains sensitive or personal information. You cannot save a post URL. You cannot. It will send you to the very beginning of the form. You can save a form if it got this post. So the good thing about post is we have no size limitations, and the secret information would keep up secret. The backfire of this is we cannot save that page. It would restart it all from the very beginning of the form. But that's not really a bad thing if you think about it. And we have the input type. So without input type, we cannot have a form. If we don't insert an input type, we cannot help the user interact with the form. It will be just an image or just some words, random words for the user if they don't have the input type box or the input type area and the button that works with it. As I was saying, the element input element is the most important form element, and it will work depending on the type of the attribute. And we have this type tag that help us with different kind of input. So when we have text, it defines a one-line text input field. When we have the radio, it defines a radio button for selecting one of many choices. And if we use a submit type of input, we are saying the form that it defines the submit button. That's the ending button that will submit everything for the processing data. Here we have it. This is just an example of an text input. So we have checkboxes too. These are on or off switches that may be toggled by the user. So we have a list of checkboxes, and the ones we click on, those are the boxes that will submit on. I don't know if I explained myself correctly. We can have a checked attribute, so we can start like an example when the form is first loaded, like when we enter a form and it says check on all that applies, and we have one checked already, and that's what the checked option help us with. So we can also set a button with JavaScript. That helps a lot when we have the checkbox. So this is example of checkboxes, and we have many options, and there's already one clicked on. So the include free. This is just an example, and you cannot click it off because it's always on. Like this will be free for you, and it will always be free even if you don't want to. And we have this radio input, and we have this selected attribute on HTML for a button. So here is an example, as I was talking before. Uh, here is a radio type input, and you have to select from the same name of the form element, but different values, like from male to female. We just have to include the checked and the on click, and that will settle up. And with that on click and that checked, we can immediately mix it with special JavaScript just for that input. So we can have different kind of input and link it with JavaScript. This is an example of radio button. So when you click, let's think about it. This is just an example, but we have the input type, and the type is radio, and we have the same name in that input type because it's the same thing. So the value is the one who we want to change the value. So when you click one value, the others will become empty. That's the radio button. If you click one, the other ones just go blank. That's helpful too. So just like that, we can add it all together and create a text area for input, and we can create a click on on click uh, and we can create a list and menus, and this is a complete part of a form. It asks for specific information, and it gives the information from list and everything, and that's the way we want it to look like. And we have the submit button. This is for the end of all of it. When we press the button, it submits a form to a form handle, and it will process it, and suddenly with the JavaScript you can have all the information processed and have an answer or a message or another form or a continuation of the beginning form. And we have this target attribute, and I like it very much because you can have this target and add it to a form and create a value that helps you have the answers or the next step of that form in a new page, or in the same page you were just uh, fill in the form. That's it. And we have these differences between input and text area. On the input element, the most important attribute is a type attribute. So when we don't have or add a type attribute, the input will behave like a good element. And we have that the input tag is an empty element. We don't need a closing tag for it. If we want to create a text area for more characters, since input only have like 20 characters or so, the text area is for bigger text information, like a comment, like some sort of big information. We have to open the tag and close the tag. We always have to use an opening and closing tag for text area. And we have menus too, and we can create menus with the tag select, and from that select tag we create a group of options that will help us to show many lines, different options for the user to choose. Like this. And this is an example of how menus work. You click on some line and it opens up for all the options of the menu, and you click on one of them and it closes. So it shows just the option you clicked on. And we have to add always an on-click with the JavaScript just for it to execute all in the right way. We create a variable and all the stuff in JavaScript. And that's it. If we want to have a personalized view of that data, we can have a grouping form data, like a field set that help us separate groups of all the form data and create a name with the legend, so we can have all in organized. This is an example of organized information inside a field set with legend and everything. So basically what we want is to have a, an original form. We can add colors and many things. This is just a basic example. It's not like we have to create this kind of form. And we talked about menus, and for us to create a menu or a list, we need to start with the select tag, the select element. This element defines the drop-down list. We have to name it and everything and create options to select. So we create an option with different values. That's how we create a list. And with those values, we can have and add a visual value. If we have a too large list, we can size it so only some elements can be seen until you click on and open up the list. And we can have multiple selections with this adding this word multiple, this multiple attribute. So you can click and drag and select many options from the list. We already talked about it, but with the text area, you can have multi-line input field. So we can create a attribute with rows and columns, and that helps us uh, have the right width and have it all in measured. We can create a text area with a name. We can style it whatever the style we wanted, and you can have all the lines you want. You just have to be and make sure that everything is on the right place. If we want 20 rows, 10 rows, then we can say it. You can write on 10 rows, and that's it. Fill it up. Enjoy yourself and write it up. And to summarize it all, we have that the tag form defines an HTML form. The input tag defines input control. The tag text area defines multi-line input control. And we have the tag label that helps us uh, label for an input element. And we have the field set tag that helps us group related elements. We have the legend tag that defines the caption or you can say the name of the field set element for us to understand it. We have the select tag. It defines the list. We can have an opt group and have a lot of options too instead of select, and it creates a down drop list. We have the button tag. It creates a functional button. You can click it, press it, everything will work. And we have the output and data list that we didn't talk about it in this video. I'm really sorry. And we have some attributes too. So basically, we talked about action that specifies an address or what we're going to do, what the form is going to do when you click on the button. We can have an autocomplete that specifies if the browser should autocomplete the form. We can put it in on or off. It depends on us. We have the method, and that specifies the HTTP method used when submitting the form, like get and post. We have the name attribute, and we use it to name most of the tags. Most of tags have always a name because we use names to identify form and many stuff. So that's it. And we talked about target that specifies the target of an address in the action attribute. If we want the form to create another page, or we want to refresh the page and create the answer of the inputted form information. And that's basically what was this week. A lot of experiences learning about it and how to explain it to you guys. And this is the pages I was searching, the information I shared with you. If you need to go there and refresh it, if I didn't say it in the right way, I'm really sorry. And these are the links I use, and I really wanted to work. I hope you could understand all the things I said, and my accent is not confusing. And thank you for watching.